Hey, Glenn's sending me an email from over there. So
Yeah.
give us 1 second, lovely people.
Just getting our proverbial crap together.
Hello. So yes, I'm opening up a YouTube link here so we can read the comments.
Oh, that's great. Wow.
Are you able to see everything on there? I know it's on.
Yeah,
the
yeah. These are bifocals, believe it or not.
How is everybody today? Hello in Bombay. Hello, Graham in the UK. Can't wait for bass player jokes. Hello from Denmark. First bass player joke is I'm one. Okay.
There you go. Yes, the first bass player joke is Anyway.
Hello from the States. Good evening, Dublin, Ireland.
Holy crap.
You got to be careful on the swearing. YouTube will block it, just so you know. And I know that that's the official greeting of. No, on the comments they just block the thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, wow, it's gotten that bad, eh? Holy crap.
Wow,
Gosh darn it,
Sebastopol.
gee willikers.
Sebastopol. Wow, it's like all over the place. Are you seeing us okay? Is everything working okay? Hello, Lauren. Hello, guys. Hello. How old is Glenn? I'm 975. So you must be 974. 74.
Yeah, exactly.
He's 974. I'm 975. Answers on a postcard. Why? That is our age. Doctor Who.
Okay. Oh, okay.
I'm a Doctor Who fan. Did you get that in Canada?
Oh yeah, my wife's a huge Whovian. She wants to go like Cardiff and that kind of thing. Well, next time we go to the UK, she's a gigantic Doctor Who fan. So
yeah, isn't it great that the Welsh came along and saved that show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a bang up job.
The classic English show, and the Welsh came along and just like completely saved it.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is about a lot of us in the music industry is we're also complete nerds. Not only are we nerds about guitars, but we're nerds about space. We're nerds about sci-fi.
Who was your favorite Doctor?
Well, because my age group is Tom Baker.
Oh, okay, I can see that.
You know, with the scarf and the 70s and all that stuff. But I'm old enough to remember John Pertwee. When I was a little kid, he was the third Doctor. Yeah. And I remember him as a little kid. And then he went off and did a Scarecrow TV show.
Mine would be the one where they brought it back there in the mid-2000s, and the first guy they had, he only did 1 year. Him and Billy Piper, I can't remember his name.
Oh, I can't remember his name as well. I thought
he was fantastic.
To be honest, this second time around, they're all amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, David Tennant was
incredible.
Spectacular. He was a total Who freak though, so he knew the complete ins and outs.
No,
of the
and he
show.
married one of Doctor Who's daughters.
Oh, for crying out loud! Yeah, and this is the thing. And when they brought the show back, he came in second place, and then they gave it to Christopher Eccleston. That was it. Christopher Eccleston was incredible. He only did it at one season, so they're like, okay, David Tennant, here's your shot. And he did it for, I don't know, 6-7 years, and he was just spectacular. He was so good.
Well, we've told people that we're going to talk about rock recording, and at the moment, do I dye my hair? Of course I do. Do you think I don't dye my hair? You know, basically, everybody knows that. I'm in this business called rock and roll. I don't know if anybody knows anything about the music industry. But in the music industry, people do things like dye their hair and wear weird clothes. Some guys have tattoos. It's really strange that. No, I've been dyeing my hair since I was a little kid. I at 11 or 12 years old started pulling out grey hairs. So what I would do is, like, when I was a little punk, literally a little punk, I would bleach my hair and dye it pink. I had a pink mohawk.
Who was your favorite English punk band?
There's too many, to be honest. I mean, it really depends on the period, because I went through the Clash, obviously, and the Sex Pistols, but loads and loads of great bands.
I'm actually reading John Lennon's biography right now. It's quite good.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's quite excellent.
Yeah, I think honestly, that song "Arise" still a masterpiece. When that comes on the radio, I could be wrong, I could be right, and the guitar sounds in it. Oh, some of the best production ever. People. Yeah, listen to the Public Image Limited albums. The production is incredible. I mean, Steve Vai played on those albums.
Really?
Steve Vai played.
I didn't know that. Wow.
I mean, he used the best musicians. I love that time in production where, you know, when people talk about the 80s, they always focus on like the negative, like bad drum sounds and like really bad pop music. Outside of that, I think some of the best music ever made was made in the 80s.
Sure, absolutely. There's some just mind-blowing stuff that came out in the 80s. You know, I mean, really the whole decade. There were different periods, obviously, where different things were happening, especially production-wise, but there was just great music being made.
Yeah,
because it was still people playing together.
Exactly. I really feel that. I mean, you know, we're a similar age group, 975, 974, but the reality is that we both love that sort of mid late 70s to like mid early 80s. I think for me that's covers all the new wave of British metal. It covers like all the best Peter Gabriel, Kate Bush, David Bowie records. Everything.
I don't know. I mean, like I still like a lot of the stuff from the late '80s too. There was the whole San Francisco thrash explosion.
Yeah, I agree.
And
with that.
there was some really great stuff. You know, some of the most important Megadeth records were in that period.
Right.
They were just spectacular.
But they were birthed in the early '80s. Like, you know, Greg.
Oh yeah.
My friend Greg D'Angelo, when he was in Anthrax, that was like 83, 84.
Right.
Before he got into White Lion. So they were doing.
Well, there's a shift in years. Anthrax to White Lion. Wow.
Yeah. He was also the original drummer in Pride and Glory.
Yep. Okay, I remember that band.
Yeah, which is Zach Wild's band.
Yep.
Okay, Terry has a question because I'm waffling on. Terry says, when recording metal drums, is it worth getting a second kick for double hits, or can you just get away with one kick and a double pedal? What a great question.
Yes, I've got the right answer for that one. Use a single bass drum and a double pedal, because you're gonna spend so much time trying to get those kick drums to match or get them reasonably close, and you never get them to match exactly, and you're just gonna wind up saying fuck it and go for it anyway. So the other thing is you're adding, you know, so much more bottom end into the room just having that extra kick drum resonate. So if you don't want to, and your drummer, you know, is going to play like a professional, you should be absolutely totally fine with a double pedal. I mean, only the real crybabies I find have to have a second drum, bass drum, and I actually had to buy a second kick for my DW kit, and I've used it on 2 different projects, and it's sat there in the closet the rest of the time.
Right.
So that was a good way to spend $1,200.
I hear you. The unless you're Alex Van Halen.
Oh yeah. Don't forget you need, you know, a second preamp and a second mic to go along with that too. So if you're, you know, running, you know, like that doubles your expense right there. You know, if you're like running, say, a Lewitt Rec 640 or something like that, that'll add up pretty quick.
Yeah, I just did a full song in 20 minutes 2 nights ago at like 1 o'clock in the morning. Poor Eric edited it and put it up for the next morning.
Wow.
And with the Rex, it's a great kick drum.
That is an amazing kick drum mic.
It really is.
Love it.
Just to add to the end of Terry's question, he said if you were using the 2 kick drums, do you just pan them both down the middle, or would you slightly pan them wider?
Well, I pan them down the middle because it's like, you know, most of the time the drummer's just going to be playing the single kick, and then, you know, your kick's going to be out of balance for the majority of the record. So yeah, just go down the middle.
The only time I ever do, and this is a completely different instrument, but the only time I'll ever do slight panning is when I'm doing duet stuff. And when I say slight, I mean 10. Mm-hmm. I do 10-10. It doesn't feel like it's not in the middle because 10% is not much.
Yeah.
But it's just enough to just separate those 2 vocals.
I was going to add, just a general rule of thumb. I've always felt this way. You know, you might have a different philosophy, but if you're mixing most of your stuff down the middle and you keep the pannings to a bare minimum and it sounds good, you're not going to go wrong.
Right.
You know, because most of the early records were all done in mono anyway. So the trick is, if it sounds good in mono, you've got a good record.
On a previous Q&A we did a couple of weeks ago, somebody brought up Red Hot Chili Peppers and Californication. I was lucky enough to do all the pre-production with that at my old studio.
Really?
Yeah, it was a long time. It was like 6-9 months, and we did.
My wife would love you. She loves that record.
It's a great record. I didn't make the record. I did the pre-production, and we recorded like DAT after DAT after DAT after DAT, and then eventually went to ADATs and started doing like proper demos for the album around somewhere.
Wow.
And I hadn't listened to the album since it came out. And it came out in 2001 or 2002, something like that. And I put it on the other day. It's like 90% mono.
Sure.
It's like totally mono. The only thing that's wide about it is a bit of ambience around the drums and the toms. And it sounds awesome. Yep. But I wonder now, would we be able to get away with that? And that's only coming on 18 years ago.
One of my all-time favorite records was Corrosion of Conformity Blind. That came out in like 92, 91, something like that. One of the biggest sounding records in my collection, and the drums are almost completely down the center.
Right.
And it's just this massive mix, but the drums are just like right here.
Right. I think... Yeah, and this is the opposite way around, because on Californication, all the instruments in the middle, and the only width is toms and a little bit of ambience.
Well, you've got one bass and one guitar in the Chili's.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't really need to pan those out.
Right.
Unless you want to sound like Van Halen 1.
Sure. Which is great. And I was talking to Matt Lanesh, who was Ross Halford's assistant for years. And not Ross Halford, sorry.
Ross Halford?
No.
The photographer?
No. The Ross Hogarth. Sorry.
Oh.
Yeah, I know Ross Halfin as well.
Okay.
Ross Hogarth, and they did.
Met Ross. I met him at your party.
At my party.
I
yes.
was like, holy shit! I know you.
And he told me that, and also somebody else recently was talking about this, that Eddie doesn't do rhythm parts under his solos.
Yeah.
So basically, Eddie still is like, da-na-na-na-na, solo, back to rhythm.
Yep.
And he doesn't get it or understand why anybody would put rhythm under his solos. So when they made that last album, he said that they were like, and he wouldn't double track. So when you get his guitar sound, that's his guitar sound. So he has a rhythm sound, then he goes to a solo and then comes back. He said so they were doing like little tricks to kind of create a bit of width, like a little bit of delay slightly over. They couldn't give him full-blown double because he didn't want it. Obviously, that's not what he does. But they had to create that extra width. It's interesting because, yes, you go back to Van Halen 1 and 2, and it's just like one guitar with the reverb on the other side.
Yep.
Love it.
Or you listen to, say, like Unleashed in the East.
Right.
And it's like in the solo bits, they'll have like, the solo off on one side and then there's a delay on the other.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was super cool.
Yeah, I think a naive use of stereo sounds more exciting now than a sophisticated use.
Yeah.
Because we're so used to kick, snare, drum, the drums, most of the drums down the middle with the bass guitar and the lead vocal. And I do it myself, the LCR kind of thinking, very Christology is like everything's in fairly mono, chorus comes in, big guitars go left and right.
Yep.
And that's cool, and it definitely works when you've got a pair of headphones on, you're sitting directly inside of it. But now it's becoming the norm for every rock record.
Oh, yeah. It's like my friend Owen Gibbons, he had a great point on his channel, Circle of Tone. Nice. Check out his channel if you're a guitar.
He's written to me a couple of times. I have to go back.
He's a good dude, and he had a great point. The big problem with progressive metal these days is it isn't very progressive.
Yeah.
Because everybody's using the exact same thing for guitar sound, dual rectifier or 5150 or a variant of such into a vintage 30 with a 57. Everybody's doing it. And nobody's doing anything new. Everybody's using the same drum samples. Everybody's using the same editing techniques. Everybody's doing everything exactly the same, and nothing is progressing. And I'm like, that is absolutely brilliant. That's such a great analogy.
I think I saw that video, and that is, that was actually quite. I did see the video. It was like 2-3 months ago. It was really good.
It wasn't too long ago, and it was just.
It's a really good video. You should check it out.
Really hit the nail on the head.
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. Yeah, because isn't that the point of prog?
Yeah, is to do something new.
Yeah, I mean, I think when we had the Remain Nameless, the band that came in with the drummer and samples, drummer. Okay.
Oh yeah.
When they came in, they played this young band that we mutually know came in and I sort of had a 2 or 3 hour discussion with them, and I listened to all of their music, and I said that I personally think one of the things that's being done to death at the moment is Snarky Puppy. And it seems like every single band wants to do slightly jazzy, funky, 10, 20-minute long stuff. And I'm like, the problem is like they own that. And the thing I'm missing is like the prog, the prog that I grew up on, the Genesis, the Yes, the Crimson, which is like really super melodic, pseudo-classical bass, not classical like Yngwie Malmsteen classical, but like you can tell that these people there's an education in the music that doesn't sound snobby.
Right.
Like if I listen to Crimson's first album, it's freaking dangerous. The distorted vocal comes in. 21st Century skits like it's like massive. It's dangerous. It's distorted and ugly. And all I'm hearing at the moment is everybody being look at me. I'm really I can play. I want to hear some danger. Prog could be dangerous.
Sure.
Early Genesis still sounds freaking awesome to me.
Yeah. It's like, and I think a lot of that has to do, and I was having this discussion with our friend there last night, was, it's like, I want to see some bands turn the metronome off.
Yeah,
and
I agree.
See what happens. I'll be like, I'm looking through a 20-year discography of stuff I've done, and my favorite records I ever did never had a metronome.
Right. Somebody's asking about rock organ. What's the best effects chain for it? For me, with organ, 3 mics, 2 on the top, when you've got a Hammond, and 1 on the bottom, obviously. On the bottoms would be D12s, RE20s, all of the usual kind of suspects. ATM, are they 25s?
Yes. Cool mics.
Yeah. All of this kind of stuff. But, you know, and don't be afraid to distort it. Do not be afraid to distort it. I mean, that's, if you're going to say about effects on a Hammond, distortion and a bit of verb, a bit of ambience.
Go put on Highway Star.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's basically because those albums were made with guys in the room. This is the one thing, this is, see, and you mentioned it a second ago about being in a room. This is the one thing that we're all forgetting. When a band was tracking in a room live, everything was bleeding into each other a little bit. Not massively, but just enough. So we're sitting there trying to go, oh, how do I get that ambience? Well, it's because the drum mics, you listen to the Queen stuff when you get the step. Not that I'm saying you can find these online. I'm not going to bet. But I've heard.
I know nothing.
I've heard that you can find multi-tracks of bands online.
You're a very bad person for mentioning this.
Yeah, I am. I've heard, I've read. Anything, and that you can find multi-tracks online. So I've heard. And if you do happen to hear those multi-tracks, you'll notice that I'm not talking excessive. I'm not talking about every time the snare drum plays, you can hear electric guitar in it. But in the ambient mics, in the bass microphone, in the guitar mic, whatever it is, you hear a bit of bleed from everybody else.
Oh, or here's a great one. AC/DC Jailbreak, way back in '74. You know, you hear that opening guitar, ba-dum, bam, ba-bam, bam. You can hear the snare rattling. Oh, that kind of stuff. And it's like, yeah.
Were you there yesterday with Cameron when he was talking about Fountains of Wayne?
No.
The bass tone?
Fountains of Wayne. Didn't they do Stacy's Mom? Did he do that?
No, it wasn't Fountains of Wayne. It was the other. Was it Fountains of Wayne?
Yeah, Stacy's Mom was by Fountains of Wayne.
No, it's the other band.
Okay.
The robot. With Wayne. The singer's called Wayne. Oh God, they're a really good band. Somebody's
Wayne
gonna.
Static?
No.
That was all right.
They're really good. They're really great, kind of progressive-y indie, but they're like very. Anyway, the singer goes to the bathroom.
Oh right. Yes, I was there for that.
Okay,
yes,
so they have a bass cab sitting next to the bathroom, and Cameron has like all of his awards, his gold and platinum records sitting up on the wall. He was making a joke about it. Yeah. And because the bass was playing, the wall was rattling. And the singer comes back. It's Wayne from, somebody help me out, save me. It's really, no, it's not Fountains of Wayne. It's the other band with that kind of name. Singer's called Wayne. Help me out. Best plug-in bundle for Reaper. Do you know that quickly?
Yeah, the one that comes with it. It's
there
amazing.
You go. Good answer. One that comes with it. Okay, so the singer comes back and says to Cameron, hey, I need you to mic up the wall. And he's like, what? Yeah. And it was the rattle. Every time the bass played, boom, it went bzz, bzz. So the same thing in the mix. And he said the only notes he got were from the singer were like, turn the rattle up. Not Fountains of Wayne, not Bowling for Soup. Keep going. Yoshi. The album was called Yoshi and the something or other.
Oh, God. Yeah, this is totally not my thing.
Is it Fountains of Wayne, Yoshi and...
No, I don't think so. The thing was, yeah, it's like, hey, let's
so it is Fountains of Wayne?
Oh, okay.
No, I don't think it is. Flaming Lips, thank you!
There we go.
Thank you, Wayne, Flaming Lips. It was the Flaming Lips. He was recording the Flaming Lips. Thank you, everybody. Yeah. I'm sorry I messed that up. It was too obvious.
Back on the Reaper thing, yes.
Yeah.
The plug-in bundle that comes with Reaper is great, and you can download those separately if you're not a Reaper user, and you can use them. And they've got spectacular EQs with built-in spectrum analyzers. There's a fantastic multiband for doing metal guitars, and there is an even better noise reduction plugin that will
high-end
rival anything on the market. And if you need, to pay for plugins and you want to get super high-end, premium plugins, yeah, get this bundle. It's awesome.
Wesley says, do I need reverb on every instrument group to add glue to the mix, or can I just rely on good EQ technique and good use of compression on the group bus?
You want to take this one?
No.
Okay. When I mix, the only thing that ever gets any reverb is maybe the snare drum. That's about it. Everything else is just dry. I mean, like, if I need any kind of spacing or whatnot, like on a vocal or whatnot, I'll put a little bit of slapback echo, like some delay. That's it. I don't like to clog my mixes up with reverb. I'm very, very, very sparing. A little bit on the snare, a little bit on the toms, and use the same reverb. That way it kind of sounds in the same room. That's how I do it anyway.
No, absolutely.
I don't.
Well, no, this is a recording rock with Glenn Fricker, so this is all pertains to rock. I mean, I do all kinds of different things, but I agree on rock a lot of the time. I want that guitar to be really in your face, so I won't necessarily use as much reverb. But
I won't put any reverb on guitar at all. I'll never let it touch it. Like, and that's the Pantera philosophy.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, Dimebag never uses reverb. Okay, we use a bit of delay. That's it. Let's do that because that works.
Nicholas says, It says guitars get a lot of compression, but do you guys ever use compression pedals or work with guitar players that use them?
No, they just add noise in my opinion. I never bother with compression pedals.
I think for rock and the stuff that you do, you're 100% right. Because an amp, when it's got massive overload, this is what the waveform looks like.
Yeah, you don't need a lot of you don't need any compression on metal guitars, especially.
However,
compressed on cleans, yes.
On cleans and for some lead tones, guys will use compressor pedals come in. What's the white one called? It's really famous.
What the Boss compressor sustainer?
No, I can't remember. There's one that check out Tim Pierce's rig. He has a great collection of different ones.
I just basically everything goes into a distressor.
Right.
For me.
Keeley, thank you, Haroon.
Oh yeah, Robert Keeley stuff is great. Yeah,
it's the Keeley compressor. We interviewed Brendan Small the other day, and he's got a lot of Keeley stuff. Yeah. So the Keeley compressor, yeah.
Yeah, Robert Keeley builds beautiful stuff. I got to try out his Pink Floyd pedal with Henning, and that was really cool. He's got like it's called I don't know, it's got like the prism on it and whatnot, and you can dial in like the Dark Side of the Moon tones. Oh, it's really cool.
Wow.
I think Warren just wet himself.
Yeah, I love that. I'm a huge Floyd fan. Got Yours says, Glenn, are you using Guitar Rig or Helix?
No. I'm still if I'm ever using anything, I'm just using like freeware amp sims and some of these new IRs that work out. I mentioned that? I'm sorry.
Shh. We're coming in. There's new stuff coming out. Ryan says, thoughts on using that cheap Behringer mixer trick to blend mics on an acoustic guitar?
Try it out, see what happens. That might work. I mean, like I got to try that. I want to try that with the 2 elements on the Lewitt kick mic as well, and see how that works.
What have either of you changed in mixing rock since the 80s? What ideas have changed? I think, for me, lots of stuff. I think the way 80s stuff was recorded was restricted by tape, and now we don't have to think that way.
Yeah, exactly.
People used to add a heck of a lot of EQ to guitars to print them the way they heard them in a room. I was on a panel with Tim Palmer about 4 years ago at South by Southwest, and everybody was talking about tape versus digital, and Tim it was his panel actually, Tim interjected and said, I hate tape. And we're like, whoa, everybody's like, whoa, Tim Palmer said he hates tape. And we're like, why does Tim Palmer hate tape? He goes, because I would sit and dial in an amazing drum or an amazing guitar sound, and then I'd have to listen back to it on tape sounding like this. Mm-hmm. And it's like, as much as we love tape for certain things, it was frustrating. And Tommy Vicari said the same thing. Tommy Vicari, look him up, he's one of the greatest engineers ever lived. He's freaking, he won, God knows how many Grammys, but he's, God, what's his name? The big R&B pop producer, one of the biggest of all times.
Miles Rogers? No, Rogers?
I'm blanking on his name.
Quincy Jones?
Quincy Jones. He's Quincy Jones's engineer.
Oh, okay.
So if Quincy Jones's engineer, who's like in his mid-60s, who's the first he ever engineered was a #1 single for Billy Preston. I mean, this guy's so talented. Wow. And he's hated tape his whole life, and digital to him is like a blessing.
Sure.
And he said one of the problems for people that use digital is they think about it like tape. So they boost the top end, and when it comes back sounding too bright, they blame digital. He's like, stop boosting the top end.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, it's like I remember tape, and half the time the machine was broken, that kind of thing. That was the experience of working with tape for me. Here's a great one though. But yeah, people treated digital like tape and tried overloading everything, and it's like, oh well, it sounds brittle. Well, yeah, you clip the signal, dumbass. You got to deal with it in a different way.
Yeah, it's just sort of thinking things about logically. All right,
it's like use it properly. It's going to sound great. Without any of the bullshit.
Joyo Jackman for multi-purpose guitar amp for recording?
It's not bad. I mean, like, there's no foot, you can't really foot switch it, but sure. I mean, like, for not a lot of money, you get a hell of a little amp for not a lot of money. Anything from the Bantamp series is really killer, actually. Yeah, the Vivo's great, the Zombie's great, and the Jackman's great. Yeah. Or they got the orange one. Which one's the orange? I forget. It's got the OR in the middle or the end. I can't remember. It's really kick-ass, too.
Do I still have a DBX 160 in my rack? Yes. Kick drum.
I've got 2.
Really good. If we're talking like the cheaper one, not the VU. The VU I use on vocals all the time. I have 3 of them. And they're 165s, and I have their variable tack and release. But I put my 165s on auto and use them like a 160.
Here's my. Oh, can I ask a question?
Please.
You use a stage compressor for vocal, right? What goes first in the signal chain? The DBX or what?
DBX.
DBX and then the 1176.
Yeah, because I use the M6 only for massive peaks. I've set it on 20 to 1.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So basically, it's doing this on the 160, and then in that same period of like 4 seconds, it might go like that.
Okay.
That's it's got like a bit of limiting. Like every now and then, the guy goes wah, and this will come in and just catch the peak on the 1176.
Okay.
To me, it's the perfect combination. I learned it from Dave Jordan, actually Mike Klink, when I was working with Mike Klink on a project.
Wow.
So like, yeah, Dave.
I grew up listening to Mike Klink's stuff.
Yeah. And both of them use that same chain, and I don't think either of them invented it. I think they learned it from guys from the 70s.
Because I took that philosophy and tried it in my studio with slightly different compressors.
By the way, that's the vocal mix sound of Axl Rose.
Oh, well, there you go.
So that's how Mike told me that was their vocal sound on, User Illusion 1 and 2. And
wow, that's cool.
all 3 albums is a 160 into an 1176. So if you guys want to emulate that sound in your mixes, I don't know who makes the 160 plugins. Somebody recently started doing it, didn't
Maybe Waves. I don't know.
Sorry, everybody, I forgot.
I was going to say what I did was I was sent an SA2A, which is like an LA2A clone by Stam Audio. Tried that, and again, it's got that super slow attack. So I did that in conjunction with the distressor set to like 20 to 1, and it got the same effect.
Well, that's
same idea.
What you're touching on there is really, really important. So I have, and I'm blessed, and it's taken me 30 years of collecting gear, all of these different things. Now, if you can look down here, I have the BAE, 33609, the DCFs. I have 2 of those, 2 165s, 2 and absolutely amazing Spectrasonics. So 1, 2, and the DBX 160 bottom. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I've already got 7 compressors just on the bottom. Then I go up the top, and I've got another 1176 and another 165, the Tegeler.
Yeah,
I've got 40 channels of dynamics on my console. I've got a Trident. Another 162 stereo. You're getting the picture. I've got a schnizzle load of freaking compressors. But gun to my head, if I was doing this again, I'd go out and buy a bunch of distressors. Just letting you know. And I don't have any affiliation with Empirical Labs.
Yeah.
I do like Joe, Joe Perry, strange coincidence. I like him a lot. He's a really good guy and he's been very helpful to us with information, giveaways and everything. And I know he runs the distribution company for Distressor. You have to meet him. He's an awesome guy. I have no affiliate link, nothing. I don't make any money of it, but I'm just telling you honestly, the Distressor is the best, and I know pretty much everybody I know agrees with this, the best all-around compressor on the market.
Oh, yeah. A lot of things will do one thing really well and then suck out a bunch of other things. The Distressor does it all and does it well, does it very well.
It can emulate anything. But I will say, the Spectrasonics, we should get you a pair.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
They have
I'm all for that.
sponginess, and people hate it when I say this, and people disagree, but they have a sponginess which makes you think 70s. Because, I know, because Jack introduced me to him, Jack Douglas, they used the original Spectrasonics, the 610s, on all the Aerosmith stuff, the Cheap Trick stuff, all the stuff that Jay Messina was making, who's still one of the best. And it just sounds, even though tape obviously was affecting it, it just starts to sound like, oh, that's that sound that I want. That's that. And you're like, oh, that's that guitar sound.
Well, it's like I use that pair on. I did that cover of Danger Zone with Siegfried on vocals, and Siegfried is just ridiculous.
He's amazing. Yeah.
Well, no, he's ridiculously dynamic. I mean, like we're talking, and then just massive peaks, and it's like I tried putting him through the distressor, and that was the one vocal I couldn't tame with just a distressor by itself. And I'm thinking, Warren uses a couple of compressors in a chain. I'm like, yeah, let's try that, see how that works. And yeah, worked like a champ.
Right. No, totally. Yeah, I think when people ask questions about what to buy and what not to buy, I always have to say, well, what's your budget? What are you trying to achieve? Because the question is always tempered by that, because a lot of people, they'll hear the answer, but it's like the meaning of life. There's an answer for every question, but the answer changes.
Right.
If somebody says to me, I can only afford and I can only want one hardware compressor, I will always say buy a distressor.
Okay,
you can afford a distressor.
If you're a limited budget, get the FMR really nice compressor.
The FMR really nice compressor. See, there's another answer. So neither of those answers are saying that they're the best compressor. They're the best compressor for your solution.
Right, exactly. And I always say that to people who just want to start out with maybe a hardware compressor, who want to get their hands on some real knobs, and don't want to spend a lot of money. The FMR is hard to beat for the money.
Right.
I just had Brandon get one because he's doing some voiceover stuff. He's like, should I get one of these? I'm like, hell yeah. You're going to have it the rest of your life. It's going to be great.
And selfishly, I'll say,
the
1173. I mean, it's what we had UK Sound, our BAE build. It's BAE build quality, and it's $1,200, and it's a 1176 with a 1073. So, it's what compressor again, Glenn? The one they want to ask, the one you just said.
Oh, the FMR, really nice compressor. It's about $250, and it's stereo. It's digitally controlled analog signal path. It is great. You can do a lot with it, and you won't break the bank. They built it right.
This is a good one. Fabio says, I record and mix and master full band projects working entirely in the box. I have no gear besides a 16-channel interface, a mixer, and a studio monitor. Any advice about what equipment should I get next?
Yes. Take a look at your room acoustics. See where you can upgrade there.
That's a good answer. It's a good answer.
That would be the first thing. It's like you're going to get better mixes when you can hear things better, and then maybe upgrade your monitors.
Here's a good question. I like this. Alberto's making a good point. He says, hello. Since you two have different tastes in studio monitors, would you pick up Yamaha, Genelec, or Adams with a budget of around $1,000 or $1,500?
Ooh, that's a very good question. I got to say, I really like the Adams, but if somebody threw, I still want to try out those Genelecs. So,
This is, and I love Genelec, and Genelec do not pay me any money, and I love Yamaha stuff, and they don't pay me any money, and I like the Adams stuff. This is my answer, and please, Genelec, don't get upset with me. I think at $1,000, Genelec don't have a product in there which kills. I think as you get a little bit more expensive, maybe the 1031s, when you start to get to the 3,000 to 4,000, I think they dominate. I think, this is me, sure. I think Genelec dominate at the 5 to 6K. I think they're the best sounding speakers. That's just me. But in your budget, I don't, honestly, no disrespect, Genelec, I don't think they have a speaker. And I've talked to them about it. I think they realize they know what they do well.
Right.
So I really, really like Yamahas for the HS7s and 8s. I was really blown away when we went to Vintage King and listened to all the $1,000 price range. Yeah.
I really like my A7Xs. They're like $1,500, $2,000 depending if you're American or Canadian, and they're just like the best I've ever had. Right.
So there you go. See that's where I think it's all about what the question is. I can't say that Adams sound better than Genelec. I think Genelec sound better than Adams. However, at the price point, Genelec don't have a competing speaker. They know this, and I think that they double down and make something which that next price up, which dominates. So, that's why we have to get away. Two things I think are worth pointing out. We have to get away from one speaker being better than the other, because it's about what's the price point
and what works for you.
What works for you. And the other thing I think that you touched on a minute ago, and we cannot stress. People say to me, I recommend something I use, and they say, it sounds awful. And I'm like, wait there. Because they'll say to me, a speaker's too mid-rangey. There's one thing about Genelecs. There's a little bit, the low end is really extended. And the high mids are like really detailed, so they're really good for mixing for me. Then somebody said to me the other day that there was too much pure mid-range. And I'm like, no, there isn't. And then I'm like, wait there. How's your room?
Yeah, exactly. That's the first thing you should be looking at before anything. Let's put it this way. I've said this a million times, and I will continue to say this. If you have a budget of, I would much rather you put $10,000 worth of acoustic treatment into a $1,000 room, or into a room with $1,000 worth of gear, than spend $10,000 a gear and only put $1,000 into the acoustic treatment. I would much rather the opposite. You're going to wind up with better sounding records.
Yeah, I agree entirely.
You cannot get around that fact.
Could you all like and share, please? The way that YouTube works, apparently, is that we have to let them know that we're all watching. Mm-hmm. So if you could like and share, that would be fantastic. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, sounds like a good idea.
Absolutely want so. Please like and share.
And hit that subscribe button, too.
Oh, thank you. Oh, yes, if you're a Glenn follower, of which I'm sure there are, I'd really appreciate that.
Yes, please do. And if you're a Warren follower, hey, please check out my channel.
Go check it out.
I've got a really cool tutorial on basic compression that just came out yesterday that a lot of people are finding very useful.
So. It's really killer, yeah. Thank you ever so much. Yeah, please subscribe to each of our channels. That would be absolutely amazing. And please like and share. Yes. That really helps because YouTube goes, oh, wait there, people are watching this. And then what will happen, it will appear in their feed. They have a algorithm. Yes. Because it's all about the algorithm.
The algorithm giveth and taketh away.
Yes. Tyler says, you guys are great kids. Thanks, Tyler.
Okay, great. Thanks,
Anybody
Tyler.
that calls me a kid, I'm happy.
Tyler's so old, his son stormed the beach at Normandy.
Oh, do you know Tyler Hammond?
No.
Oh.
I'm just taking a guess. He's calling us kids.
Yeah. And he laughed. That's good. What are my thoughts on Studio One? I don't personally use it, but I have lots of it.
Great things about it. I really want to try it out because I'm always about trying out new stuff. I mean, I worked with Saw Studio for 10 years and just got to the point where I knew it inside out and I got bored. And I'm like, Saw, and it's still rock solid. It's machine language. It's like written by one guy. It's just like the super indie thing, and I really loved working on it. And then, I don't know, I tried out Reaper, and I'm like, well, this is really cool because it's all drag and drop. So never get too complacent. Don't be afraid to try new things. And like, I work with Reaper, I work with Harrison Mixbus, and I would really like to try Studio One at some point because I've heard some just spectacular things about it.
Fantastic. Oh, Matt's here. He says, please subscribe to Glenn's channel here. Thank you, Matty D. Woo! Nicely done.
Wow.
Hey, Matty D, can you selfishly, for me, put our link up, to the 1173? Mm-hmm. Selfishly. Those of you that know, I don't really make any money out of this. It's more about, we tried to get behind designing a product which solves a lot of the problems that people are asking, which is a nice mic pre, a high quality mic pre. Thank you, Matt. You said yes. And 1176. Anyway, so 1173, we'll put a link to that.
Talk about those later.
We can talk. Oh yeah, we have to get Glenn them.
We have to get Glenn a pair.
Glenn a pair, absolutely. Gotcha says, since you advocate room acoustics, what do you think of SonarWorks reference for an ARC? What do you think?
Oh, you know what? I know Carlos. I'm about a year behind on the demo I'm supposed to do for him, but I've tried it out and it's great. My buddy Alex.
Me too.
You met Carlos? Oh, okay, great. Sorry, Carlos. Yes, we are working on it. It's coming.
He gave these to me about a year ago, and I still haven't done them.
Oh, okay. Carlos gave me his personal measurement, Mike, because his people are so far behind. I think they're great. I think you should get it. Alex Nasley uses it.
I have 4. Okay. I have 4 of these to give away to you, and I haven't done it yet.
Oh, those are giveaways for his software?
Yeah.
Oh, that's killer. Damn.
Yeah.
I should really give a few of those away. Son of a...
Anyway. Sorry, Carlos. We're going to do it. The giveaways.
You're probably going to see him at now. He's going, hey, where the hell's my demo? But anyway, I just set it up and it works. It's great.
Barry Rudolph, is an acoustic guy. He's really into it. He's like, nothing's perfect. Nothing is perfect.
Just remember to turn it off before you print your mix.
Right. I can recommend them using for about a year and a half. Great sounds for the money. What was the dicey question? I'm sorry, so many great questions coming
up. Oh, yeah, it's just a deluge. Just like my email.
Donnie says he loves Studio One. Hi, Donnie. Great to see you here. Skyler's a Reaper guy. I'm going to try and see if I can power through these. So I'm going to power questions. We'll see if we can do power answers. My fault. I'm going to shut up and ask him. Adam's just making a point here, which bugs me as well. And this is a uniquely American problem. Do they do this in Canada? Why do I always see expensive studio monitors sold individually rather than in pairs? It's like selling one side of a headphone.
It's like selling a TV without a remote control. Yeah,
They do it in Canada?
I chalk it up to the fact that marketing people are like a subhuman race, slightly lower than bass players, and with no scruples or morals or ethics. That's why. Isn't Matt D a marketing guy? Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Glenn, a few weeks ago you mentioned you were demoing a Joyo Vivo. Any news on that?
Haven't got it yet. I really want to get my hands on it. If anybody's in Europe and is going to be at Music Mess, I will be at the Joyo booth all 4 days, so come hang out.
L. Paul says, do you guys know the Behringer Euphoria UMC?
What is it, Mixer? I don't know. Maybe.
Paul says he was in Cardiff last night for Doctor Who Land. Nice!
Oh, damn.
I want to take my son there.
I want to take my wife there.
Yeah. Thank you, you guys watched. Like and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. Oh, Sexy Bearded Viking Wizard says, Badass Ali Aussie. Good day from Tasmania.
Oh, yeah. We can't call him that, right? This is a family show.
We have a great member and a good friend of mine, Stu Crichton. If he's online, he's in Tasmania as well. There's lots of Tasmanians here. This is great.
Wow. I get a lot of Aussies.
Yeah, so do I.
They love my Rule Number 2 shirt.
What's your favorite Dream Theater album?
I'm waiting for it to come out.
Good answer. Next.
I went to go see them when Pull Me Under was a big hit. They were interesting for about 5 minutes, and that was about the only time I've ever spent on Dream Theater.
Ditto. Okay, so I like my prog, but I like my songs with my prog.
Sure. I get that.
Some prog bands, I'm not going to point fingers, but some prog bands feel like that the guitar player or the instrumentalist wrote this incredible part that they practice for 6 hours and then they write a song around it.
Sure.
That's not how I think of music was written. No. But that's just me. Hello in Scotland. And they're all amazing musicians. And Mike is now playing with playing in, what's the band he's playing with? The Winery Dogs. So the Winery, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, with Billy Sheehan.
Oh, cool.
And to be honest, I love Billy Sheehan, and everything he does is incredible. So anyway, moving on. Would you recommend Yamaha HS7s for a low budget? Me personally, yes, I would. I don't know if you've got to use them, but
no. But I had the NS10s for a while, and they were pretty good too. Find a set of those on eBay.
Glenn says, what was the acoustic forum you recommended?
The John Sayers Studio Design Forum.
Great.
He's an Aussie as well.
Yeah, and I really like John Brandt. Check him out. We've done some stuff with him in the academy. Check John Brandt out if you want good, cheap advice, like actually somebody who will measure out your room. He basically, you send him a photo of your room and you describe the measurements, and he's very inexpensive, and he'll come back and tell you how to solve the problem.
I've got a tutorial on how to build your own bass traps on my channel as well, so you can check those out.
Perfect.
Do it dirt cheap.
And I do one with Barry Rudolph, so there's tons of free resources.
There's all kinds of great resources on YouTube on how to do it, but generally, just put some traps in the corner, and that's a good place to start.
See, here's an interesting, Marcel. I'm only going to answer yes to this question. Is it possible to get away with mixing on just Yamaha NS10s for rock and metal?
Of course. I love telling stereophiles that. It's like the guys who spend, I spent $3,000 on this tone arm and $2,000 on this cartridge and this. I'm like you realize that thing was mixed on that the whole record was mixed on a set of $200 NS10s, right?
Yeah, it's the truth.
Yeah.
What do I think about Pro Tools? I use Pro Tools every day, and so to me it's second nature. So I like it. To me, it's your DAW.
I think Pro Tools should send me something. I'd love to try it out.
You know what? I grew up using Pro Tools. Let's just say John Connolly's a fantastic friend of mine. Michael over at Mac DSP. They're all ex-Avid employees.
I had a nice chat with the Mac DSP guys at NAMM. They were super nice, and I emailed them, haven't heard back. So if anybody from Mac DSP is watching this,
I know the answer to that question. The guy you emailed is no longer there. I'll hook you up with Michael. Yeah, that's why.
Oh, okay.
And he was a good guy. Yeah. And the Mac DSP people are really good, and they
seem really nice.
I was on the phone with Michael yesterday.
Oh, okay.
And he quite often, Michael, are you here? We'll get into the Q&As. He'll just come in the Q&As and answer questions. I should text him and tell him to go. Glenn, stay away from Pro Tools, they say. It's okay. We don't have to like it. Yeah, no. It's all good.
I'd like to try.
Okay, here's a good question. I wanted to go back because Alex asked this, and I'll do my answer and I'll Glenn yours. Alex, great question, really good. What's the biggest songwriting / pre-production you often see from your clients? I think it is not wanting to do pre-production.
Do they want? What did they? I didn't quite get the.
What's the biggest mistake that the client makes?
Oh, yeah.
The client makes.
No preparation. Yeah. Not listening to the bass player before they bring him into the studio. Right. Here, my case is usually a band jams in whatever room. You got the drummer blasting away. The guitar player's probably made a decent investment in some equipment, and the bass player's playing the bare minimum. He's off in the corner. Nobody can hear him. Sure. And the glaring truth about his abilities comes out in the studio once we hit record.
Yeah. Just. The biggest mistake is they don't want to. Producer said the other day that he's working with a big band, and they don't do pre-production, they want to do it in the studio, like just start recording. And he's like, even big. My point is even big, successful rock bands make that same mistake.
Sure.
It's not Sergeant Pepper's. You're not going into the studio for a few months with some ideas and blend it. You know, these days,
nobody's got the budget.
Nobody's got the budget. There is no $1 million budget anymore to make an album.
You know, that band should probably, I don't know, book a couple of gigs here in LA somewhere and try playing them live first, at least.
Yep, I agree. I recently got a console one on Cubase and I'm loving it. I haven't tried that. Glenn, a few weeks ago you mentioned a demo. Oh, we did that. Cheap gear, musicians coming. What's the best cheap gear a musician comes in with and surprised you? And the worst piece of expensive gear.
Oh, okay, that's a good one.
Best cheap and best worst that somebody's coming.
I remember a buddy of mine. He came with this crappy little Zoom multi-effect pedal, and I wasn't expecting much from it. Yeah. But we were doing this weird song with this. He had this like shifting tempo thing, and it would move 5 notes up, 5 notes down. And he was using it with his guitar, and I'm like, that's pretty badass. Okay, let's use that. That's pretty cool. It was like they were like a rap metal group, and it was some kind of weird interlude bit he had. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's pretty sick. So let's use that.
Yeah, I agree. My flanger pedal is a Volt, and it's like I think it was made in Eastern Europe in 1970 something, late 70s.
Wow, that's cool.
And it's the best worst pedal I've ever heard in my life because it kind of goes. Even when there's no signal going through it, you just plug it in, and the noise comes out of it. So,
that's cool.
For hi-fi enthusiasts, that's terrible. It just makes noise. But that's what's so cool about it. It does something wrong now. And that was probably $10 when a Boss pedal was $50. Sure. So my question is, what's the worst? When have you been blown away of how bad something expensive is? Expensive piece of music.
Yes, I was working on I can actually tell the truth about this because these guys are good and the band's kind of done and whatnot. I was working on the Betrayer album 2009, and Frederick Nordstrom mixed it, and we had a budget for once. It was like the band had backing, we had a budget, and I really wanted to get Chris Sangarides to mix it, but the band wanted to go with Frederick, and I'm like, I love Frederick's records, so I'm like, okay, cool. But it would have been really cool to work with Chris because he died earlier this year. Anyway.
Oh, sad.
But anyway, so the band borrowed a 1966 SG, gorgeous, good instrument, just beautiful, and we quad-tracked the rhythms, and it sounded like a chorus pedal because this thing could not fucking stay in tune at all.
Right.
So you know what we did? We had actually tracked all the rhythms, and I was listening to it. And this is one of those rare times everything just falls into place, and I got to credit Jeff, the guitar player here. I'm listening to the tracks, and I'm like, it sounds like a fucking chorus pedal. We had tracked all the rhythms, and I'm like, this isn't gonna work. So I handed him my Schecter Hellraiser, just a standard off-the-shelf Hellraiser. It had some Grover locking rotomatics on it, EMG 8185 set. I'm like, put that in his hands, and he started playing, and I'm like, I just did a quick comparison. We did a small thing with 4 rhythm tracks back to back, and I'm like, okay, here's the Gibson tracks, here's the Schecter tracks. Schecter tracks, were laser precise and just sounded great. And we proceeded to retrack the entire record, an album's worth of rhythm tracks in about 3.5 hours. He was one of those rare occasions where he was completely dialed in and just nailed it. And I'm like, yeah, we got a performance there. Let's keep that.
I hear you. I think you're pointing out one of those deficiencies of vintage equipment. It doesn't matter whether it's a vintage compressor, a vintage microphone, or a vintage guitar, or a vintage amp. The best analogy I can think of, I've told it many times, is Jim Scott. Jim Scott mixed a Augustana record I produced and engineered. And I would drive every day over to his studio, and he had an RCA Neve. So it was the Neve from RCA Studios.
Wow.
And he had recently had it completely recapped. And like all new pots, new this, new transform, whatever. He had basically rebuilt this console. And so I was like just a kind of a naive guy. And I said to him, oh, but does that like change the sound? And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it changes the sound. Now, instead of like doing 2 clicks or 3 clicks to boost the top end, I only have to do 1. Basically, he just said it works better.
Yeah. Excuse me one moment, I need to take this.
We're about to head over to Cameron Webb's to do full-blown drums and all kinds of fun stuff. Nice paper doll cutouts. Oh, that's done by my son when he was like 3 or 4. Acoustic treatment for rental apartments. I mean, There's so much answers to that. I say go and check out all those solutions we're talking about. Take us with you. All right, I'll do some live stuff from there. You know, I love Cameron, but his internet is... This can be bad because we're in the hills, but Cameron's internet is truly monumentally slow. Some are audio clones. Haven't got to try those out. Somebody's laughing at Anne. Paul, not at all. Is there any problem with is for your neighbors? There you go. There's a solution. Anne said when somebody was asking about what solutions for acoustic treatment and soundproofing in their apartment, Anne responded, this was good. He goes, there's no problem. It's your neighbors that have the problem. Good answer. Do you struggle with Glenn with working with bass players?
You've got a different talent pool here in LA.
Yeah, I think you know, there was a joke that Mark Agnesi put up the other day, a meme, where Darth Vader is handing a bass to, I'll get it, you'll love it, handing a bass to Princess Leia. And the caption read, "You suck as a guitar player." So the joke is, and it's the truth, when you're a kid, you got three guys all wanting to be lead guitarist, and the guy that's the least a good guitar player or girl ends up being the bass player. So the question is like, I don't know if that's necessarily true, because some of my favorite musicians of all time are bass players. Billy Sheehan, you know, is phenomenal. You know, as good a bass player as any guitar player will ever be. Tony Franklin, you know what I mean? So many great ones. Hey, so everybody, would you do me a favor and all like or share? We've still got another few minutes on here.
Yeah, sorry about that. I just had to get something.
Dennis Dunaway's phenomenal, good friend of mine.
Had to get something.
Have his book. Bass doesn't take as much to learn for most people. Yeah, for the John Entwistle's phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I love bass players. I really do. I love great bass players. You say, you know, Billy Sheehan. Yeah, what a phenomenal talent. Billy Gould. There's a lot of great bass players.
Mick Kahn is amazing. Yeah, there's all these incredible bass players.
I think a lot of people
Scott Devine, my friend. Yeah.
I think a lot of young bands underestimate, though, when it comes to bass, just how much physical effort is needed to get those strings moving correctly, and the amount of precision and control you do need to control it. Because half about bass guitar isn't what you play; it's what you're not playing, or at least you're supposed to not be playing.
Yeah, Victor Wooten, Jason Newsted. I mean, these are all amazing musicians. John Paul Jones, of course. I mean, these are all what Glenn does is he's basically telling you, not the bass Stanley Clarke, Phil Lynott. Oh, don't Phil Lynott. I mean, Thin Lizzy.
Hey, come on.
McCartney, Greg Lake, Emerson, Lake and Palmer. But Tony Levin. So Tony Levin is one of my favorites. Charlie Mingus, Jaco Pastorius. So what you're doing, Steve Harris is probably
Cliff Burton. Yeah, there was somebody great.
Steve Harris may be the best rock bass player in the world, and just because he made bass important in rock.
Oh yeah.
When that first Maiden record came out, when I first heard Phantom of the Opera, and then I saw them live, and I'm like, well, wait there. He's playing.
Yeah, you watch those fingers; they're just machine guns. Just like, what the hell is he doing?
Geezer Butler wrote the riffs. Yep. Geezer Butler wrote the riffs in Black Sabbath. I mean, that's all him.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So yeah, it's John Paul Jones wrote Zeppelin riffs.
Sure. Yeah, bass is everything.
I'm going to pour a cup of coffee.
Bass is lip.
Selfishly, get a cup of coffee. Do you want one?
Yes, I would love one.
And you're going to talk about bass players.
All right. Okay, I'll try. Okay, you know, you're naming off all these things. Okay, here I'm gonna tell you guys a story about a group I was a huge fan of from Toronto that nobody ever heard of, and there's a group called Weirdstone. And they were a little indie band, and I remember I sat in a session at Sheridan College. A friend of mine was mixing them. He was playing this weird hard rock hippie 60s meets metal kind of thing. And the group was called Weirdstone, and they had this bass player that was just an absolute freaking lunatic. He was just doing these incredible walking bass lines all over the place. And I remember thinking, this is the most badass thing I've ever heard in my life. This is so cool. And, you know, unfortunately the band went nowhere. They had a couple videos up on Much Music, and if you check YouTube and look up the band Weirdstone, I think they've got a video for the song called Montana Rain, and it's like any other Canadian indie band from the time. The video is absolutely horrendous, but the song is killer, and the bass player just fucking rips. And I remember I had a 2-song cassette of this band, and I just played it to death. Thank you, sir.
Probably a little chilly. It's not.
That's fine. And I played this cassette to death, and it was just one. It was just 2 songs. One was called "Free," the other song was called "Funky Thing," and I just absolutely fell in love with the bass. And when I opened up a studio, I'm like, okay, I want to do a record like that with the ripping bass player, and we can bring that to a forefront, and we could like push rock in kind of a new direction. And it never fucking happened, because nobody pushed the bass like this guy did, and yeah, and unfortunately. It never happened. So it's like if you're looking for anybody wants to do some prog metal or something like that. Hopefully I'm not boring you guys to death. But if you're looking to do prog metal, get a great bass player and turn off the fucking metronome. Okay, let's. Glenn needs to get on Trailer Park Boys. No, I want to get on Letterkenny. Actually, I met those guys the other night. I went to go see them live, and they were hanging out at the back of the venue. I just kind of bumped into them, handed them my card. We'll see what happens. Oh, what's your opinion on the Harley Benton Mighty Fifth? I've got it. I haven't plugged it in yet. I had to get a European power supply, a step-up transformer, so I could actually plug it in. But yes, I've got one, and I'll try it. Yeah, how are you now? Exactly. What'd you say, you fucking hicks? Sorry, Canadian TV.
Okay. What's on your 2-bus, says Electric Outworks?
I am on my 2-bus is, well, if I'm going completely in the box, I have the Slate VTM, the Slate virtual tape. I've got the Slate, the FG Gray, their version of the SSL bus compressor, and the FGX, which is their mastering limiter. If I'm going out of the box, I have an IGS mastering bus compressor. It's an SSL clone, except it's got a mix control, which is really nice. And I've got the RB500, which is a stereo mastering EQ that works like a Pultec. Everything's all stepped. It's gorgeous, and I'll throw that on for a little bit of sweetening, and then back into the box to hit the Slate FGX, because that's just killer. I don't master very loud at all anymore, because YouTube just turns everything down these days, so I just keep everything about the -10 level. I barely hit anything with mastering limiters, just to get the occasional peaks these days.
But what's interesting is the other day, Eric, we work insanely long hours, and we're mixing Ace Frehley's album at the moment. That's been on and off. We're doing, we're about to start an album with the Matthews that Bob Marlette and I are doing together.
Is that the Irish band?
The Irish band. I'm always doing like 50 projects, and so Eric and I, and God bless Eric, we tease him about his silly haircuts. Says a guy with a silly haircut myself. Somebody just called me Elvis. Thank you. I'd love to be Elvis. That'd be amazing. If only I was as good looking as Elvis, the girls would be falling all over me. Or I could sing like that. But anyway, thank you. I'll take it. I'll take Elvis. Anyway, so what was I saying? The
English Elvis.
Yeah, English Elvis that couldn't sing 1/100th as good as Elvis. But thank you.
You're gonna do Burn in Love. There you go.
Yeah. But reason why I tell you how insanely busy we are. So basically, we filmed a video, and then Eric edited it and put it up on YouTube, and he just didn't quite hit it as loud as we do volume-wise, and YouTube did not push it up. So now we have like a videos like levels all here, and then there's one down here. So I don't know if that algorithm is like consistent.
Because here's the thing, I remember
I
ran into this a couple years ago. Well, I mixed and mastered a song like I normally do, like modern metal, just like blast the shit out of it. And everybody, in the comments said this sounds like crap, and I'm like, what the hell? And I'm noticing a lot of my other stuff, everything got turned down a little bit.
No, I know they've been doing that, but I thought the idea was they were going to bring stuff up to match. But...
Oh, I don't know about that. So like I said, I've been mixing for -10, and everyone tells me how great the mixes sound. I'm like, okay, well, we'll keep it there. I gotta have to do a video where I explore that and see what happens. Could you do it?
Because somebody explored it the other day. This guy explored it the other day, and it was one of the most confusing, biggest pieces of disinformation I've ever seen in my life.
Well, what I'll do is I'll do two
somebody who actually knows what they're talking about.
2-3 different mixes in the same video, and show a loud one, a slightly quieter one, and a slightly quieter one, and see what's going on. Because I want to do a piece on the loudest one.
The thing about Glenn, I'll tell you, my audience here. The thing about Glenn is like, he's freaking hilarious, and his show is like, he's blown up amplifiers. He's shot amplifiers. He's put sticks of dynamites in amplifiers.
Well, no, it was tannerite, to be fair.
Dynamite to me.
To be fair. Anyway, all the Letterkenny
So his stuff is hilarious, and as you know, I met him at Summer NAMM like 2 years ago now, And I came up to him and was like, "Hey, I love your stuff."
And I'm like, "Who the hell are you?"
Who the hell are you? But the point is like, there's so many of us watches. Cameron Webb is a fan of his, you know, and they mutually like what each other does. And, you know, he's a fan of Motorhead, like any sane person. It would be a fan of Motorhead. And Cameron obviously did 7 or 8 albums. My point is like, there's entertainment value in there above the yin yang. But I'll tell you, his detail, your detail is above and beyond anybody else. You don't do stupid disinformation. And that's the one thing, like, there's a lot of YouTube channels out there, and I don't like them because the reason why I don't like them is because they like pretend there's problems that aren't problems. Like the whole high pass filtering thing, I go on about it all the time. That video is the biggest piece of crap on the internet.
What is that?
I don't want people to go and watch it.
Okay.
Because it's pretending that there's a problem with high passing. There is no problem. Mastering engineers are now finding that they're telling me en masse that kids are sending them, or people coming are sending them stuff where there's no high passing going on and they can't pull out the kick and the bass. And it's a terrible piece of misinformation. But I could pretend there's a problem and put out a video there and get 1 million views. Wow. Don't do this terrible thing, and people will be like, "Oh no." My point is like, your stuff, you always pay attention to detail. Sonically, your stuff always sounds second to none. It's really good, and you care about the details. So that is something. So if you do a video on YouTube versus Facebook versus SoundCloud, all those different things, and talk about the difference. Idea.
I'm writing this down. That's a great one.
I will watch your video and I will promote the Schnizzle ad.
Okay.
I don't have the time to do something as detailed as that. I work in a world that I understand. When you saw me do the video on the DTP mics the other day, we recorded it in an hour, start to finish, and there's a 40-second, or 1 minute song that I recorded using those microphones. Because that's what I do every day, I record. So I can show you how I record, and I can talk about it from that point of view. I cannot do a video about something that I don't know about. It's not respectful. When Glenn does a video, he puts more detail in there than anybody I know. So when he does that, if he's going to do it, and I'm encouraging you to do that video.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna check that out. I'm gonna explore that.
On the differences between YouTube.
Because I want to learn, yeah. Because I was actually when I was at
there
was a company I was talking to that has a new mastering plugin that will set different levels for your various digital platforms. As well as CD, and I'm like, that's fucking awesome. They gave me their card, and I emailed them. Of course, they never got back to me. Of course, they probably thought it was spam. So I'm gonna have to start calling these people up and go like, hey, let's
company.
do this.
Who are they?
I can't remember them. I've got their card at home.
Let's talk to Waze on that DSP and see if they'll do it.
Yeah, I was looking at it, and it's like it was blue. That's all I remember. You know, it's like I met a lot of people, shook a lot of hands.
What's the red guitar next to my tape machine? There's two. One of them is a Vox Typhoon, and the other one is a Pacifica, which is my main tracking guitar with this, just crunched it, which is my favorite guitar I've ever owned. God bless you, Yamaha. It's a Rev Star. It's $1,500. It's the Japanese one. They make $600 ones, which I also have, which are amazing. But this is their Japanese, and it is awesome.
Really it's not as cool as mine.
Oh, I'm sure you have cooler ones. You have a Washburn? You're looking it up?
I'm going to see if I can find a picture here for you guys, see if it's on here.
Do I still gate the toms? No, I do it manually. And somebody's saying they love their... Yeah, the Japanese guitars, SG-2000. Oh, I love the SG-2000. I've been trying to get Yamaha to get me one. They don't have them in this country. I really want one. Really, really, really good. Do you still have the Guitar Players Toolkit shirts?
Yes, they're on my store. Go to spectremedia.ca/shop, and yes, they are there. Yes.
What's the common budget for an EP? There is no common budget. Some people come in and they have $5,000 and you bang it out as quickly as you can. Some people have 15,000. Some people have 1,500.
Oh my God!
No, you just have to find the time to wake it. Oh, somebody has a '97 Jeff Beck Strat. Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's like a 29 fret Washburn in red. I had mine in white, and I still got it. And that is just like the sickest guitar ever. It goes all the way up to the high A. Wow. It's crazy.
Washburn were a great company. When I was a kid, they
built badass guitars back in the day.
Yeah, they did.
I got that guitar. I remember I worked midnights, and it was in high school to get that guitar, and I've still got it to this day. I got no sleep and had no social life, and I made crap money, but I made enough to buy that guitar because even back in the day, it was a bloody fortune.
Hey, everybody, could you like and share? Please like and share. Hey, Ron Mockridge, how are you, my friend? Please like and share. I see there's 400 plus of you on there. If you could get them all to like and share, that would be amazing.
And
so hit the like button.
And subscribe to this guy. He knows what he's talking about.
Subscribe to this guy. Johnny says they worked at Washburn in the 80s. Great.
Oh, no kidding. I love the
great
80s
guitars.
Washburns. Yeah. Actually, my first guitar ever was a Washburn Superbird, like the SB10.
Yeah, those were great.
And all my metal friends made fun of me because it was like a late 70s, early 80s style. And it was a little bit like, it was almost like a double cutaway Les Paul or something. It weighed a bloody ton. And it wasn't cool enough. So when I got the white one with the crackle finish, I was like, that was a cool guitar.
Yeah, I agree. They made great guitars. I used to work at 2 different guitar stores, Kingfisher and, of course, Anderton's.
Yep.
And those guitars used to sell like crazy. Paul Lucas says, what is the project you guys are working on today? We're going to go to Cameron Webb's. What are we doing?
Are we actually going to tell anybody this, or are we going to wait?
Nah, we're not going to tell anybody. But we're doing some really cool stuff with Cameron Webb.
Yes. just see it. We're keeping it under wraps. We'll make.
Because we want to come out guns blazing and launch something really good.
Yeah, we don't want to give away too many details. Let's just say, you guys.
When it gets super close, we'll do a Stephen Slate. We're like maybe a month away from launching hardcore. We'll start telling people. We'll tell people about it, and then we'll launch.
What we're gonna?
Well, what Slate would do? I know Steve.
We're gonna get it. We're gonna get like a bagpipe band to walk by when we do it. And get really mad.
Oh, God. I actually thought he was quite controlled.
Yeah, I thought he handled that brilliantly.
I thought he handled it brilliantly.
I'm like, wow, yeah. I was like, we're hype. It's like, oh, Stephen Slate freaks out. No, he didn't.
No, he didn't.
He handled that like a pro.
Stephen,
awesome.
if you're watching,
we love you, dude.
We thought you handled it really, really well. Have you tried Hagstrom guitars? Of course, Hagstrom are amazing. When I was a kid,
they were at GitCon. I didn't try them.
We will. Okay.
Stephen
Slate is a cyborg. I don't know what he is. I think he's a freaking genius.
He's a force of nature.
Yeah, he's a genius. Yes, Paul says. Look, we as consumers, we buy stuff. I'm equally love Slate plugins.
Oh yeah.
I love Waves plugins. I love Mac DSP. They're on every mix I do.
I've got Slate plugins all over the place.
Yeah.
I love their virtual mix rack. And I got to say this, earlier Warren was saying, get a distressor. I'm going to be doing a shootout, distressor versus the Slate FG Stress. And I got to say, just from preliminary tests, the FG Stress is pretty damn impressive. It's really close. I haven't done a direct A/B comparison, but it does a lot of the things I expect a distressor to do. And they did spend 2 years on it.
Alex is another great question. Alex is the great question asker today. He said, what advice would you give your younger selves? You go first.
The musicians, don't spend all your money on a studio because the musicians won't care.
So what do you mean? What would you...
I don't know. I'd warn myself. I'd be like, look, you're going to be in for a rough ride because the people you're going to be working with don't respect you or the equipment or the money you've put into it or the effort you've put in. And you're never going to be satisfied with what you do. And only occasionally will anybody ever tell you did a good job.
So is the lesson from that, I must ask this, is the lesson for that just to kind of be easier on yourself, give yourself a break?
Just don't expect much. That's all I can say. I mean, like coming from where I come from, I mean, it's very working class and competitions, especially these days, just absolutely cutthroat. It's like, don't expect much.
Right.
Don't go into it with having great expectations because great expectations only lead to great disappointments. I'd say go into it with the idea that you're doing it for fun.
Yeah. I mean, see, now you're opening a can of worms for me with artists. I feel like whenever an artist comes to me, they have a lot of expectations. When they're independent artists, and sorry, Alex, I'm going off the beaten track. I'll answer your question directly in a second. But I find when I'm working with independent artists, I don't say yes to everybody. Now I say yes to about 1 in 10. And when I do say yes, I want them to understand that they have to be happy with it. I want them to love what they do more than you're out the picture a bit.
Oh, sorry.
So I want them to love it. That should be the most important thing.
Sure.
The successful thing should be they should walk away with this piece of music going, wow, this sounded incredible. That is the most thing. Because the problem is like, people come to me because I have a lot of credits and lots of nice platinum goldy things. And I also A&R'd at different labels. So they know I have a lot of contacts with labels and managers. I manage artists as well and blah, blah, blah. And so they think, oh, I get it. And I think actually when you're an independent artist, those things are important. Because I get people sending me MP3s going, oh, this is an EP I just finished with a different producer. He can't help me at all, hook me up. Would you do it for me? And I'm like, no. If you're going to go and spend $15,000 with John down the road, whoever John is, I'm making up John up, but whatever, and then he cannot connect you with anything and can't help you and doesn't know how to help you market your music and stuff, don't work with him. They come to me and go, now would you do $15,000 worth of free work and help promote my artist?
Oh, yeah.
So I do. That. I work, every artist I work with. But the reality is you need to make sure that you're satisfying the success level when you're working with an artist is about the music. That's your job. Make sure that they walk away loving the music. So the advice is all big circle. What is the advice? The advice I tell myself is listen to your artist. When I was younger, the problem for me was when I first started is I had about this much skill set. Mm-hmm. And I knew how to do like 4 things really well. Like I knew initially how to make drums sound really good with 4 microphones. I'd worked with Andy Jackson, who did Pink Floyd, as Pink Floyd's engineer, and Dave Gilmour's and all this stuff. He showed me inadvertently by working with me for a few days how to make drums sound really good. Wow. So I learned how to make drums sound really good with a small amount of microphones, number 1. But if you wanted like super mega death rock guitars, my 3-4 mic drum kit doesn't cut it anymore. I need individual miking because how am I going to pull up the toms when my overheads are also my tom mics?
Right.
And I'm on tape. Yeah. I'm not in a DAW where I can copy my overheads and my mics and then separate the toms out. Nowadays we can do all kinds of clever stuff. You couldn't do it in those days.
Nope.
So the point is like, so bands come to me, used to come to me to do stuff that was outside of my wheelhouse, but it wasn't it wasn't my problem, it was their problem. I was all like, oh, you know, this is the way. So I have to tell yourself that you need to grow your skill. Best advice, somebody said, do what you love. I agree. You know, you need to do what you love. You need to love what you do, but you need to understand that just because you only know a handful of things, you can't tell your band off because it doesn't fit into your world. Yeah. Guys come to me all the time. I've seen people leave comments on my videos and your videos like, oh, I just worked with this engineer and he told me, somebody said to me the other day, he told me I'm not allowed to use effects when I'm listening to my vocals because it would affect my performance. And I'm like, that is the biggest bunch of crap ever. Because if you're a singer and you're not comfortable, that's the number 1 most important thing that will affect your vocal performance.
Yep. Yeah.
You go in there, you're all nervous, you're not comfortable, the vocals sound like crap in the mix.
Yeah, throw on a delay, throw on a reverb, let the singer work with it in the headphones. You know what? If they sound bigger, they sound larger in life, you know what chances are they're going to go for it. I remember one of the earliest recordings I did, I was a singer in a band, and that's exactly what they did. They gave me this really kick-ass delay in the headphones, and it was awesome, and I rocked it. Yeah.
Yep.
And no auto-tune either.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we want to inspire. You want to inspire people. That's really the most important thing. You want them to go in there feeling comfortable with you. And I will say...
And you are an inspirational dude, I can say, you know, I really believe that. It's like, yeah, you're so excited about that kind of shit, whereas I've just gotten, you know, bitter.
You know, it's like Little Empire, you know, the band that I produced and co-wrote and played on, stuff like that. They had the potential to become absolutely huge. And they just couldn't get out of their own way. I couldn't get any decisions made with them. I just gave up trying to do it. But
I know that.
You know, like every single person here that follows us has listened to their music and loves them. Here you go. Community, community, community. Yes. Let's all help each other.
I'm all for that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Suspend your ego. Great advice. Yeah. Yep. Really, really good. Yeah, it's all about the artist. So please, will you like and share? I see we have 419 people and 311 likes. Can we make that up to 419 likes? Please like it.
Come on, there's 400 of you guys. Just hit the like button. It takes no effort. It's so simple, even a bass player can do it.
Oh, ouch. 419. Come on, let's hit that like button. Wow, I love it. Even a bass player can do it.
Yeah, that's kind of that's going on a t-shirt.
Wait, have you got a bass player thing? I hadn't noticed. Yeah. What, he's got something with bass players?
There we go, 350.
That's 350, getting close.
363. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
That's a little more like, come on, guys, hit that like button. It's not going to take much.
You see, I might be inspirational, but you're more inspiring. People,
oh, please.
You said it, and it happens.
Oh, come on.
Come on, we're almost there. Let's like and share. If you can share it somewhere, that'd be amazing.
Share would be great too. Throw it up on Facebook. Throw it up on.
Why is like so important? So when you hit the like, and you share it, YouTube goes, oh, this is a popular video, it's live, and so they let people know.
Yeah, it'll go in their streams and they can click on and join in.
Yeah.
And
Somebody hit dislike because we asked to like.
Yeah.
Hey!
Thank you for not being bitter. I really appreciate that. You're a true boon to humanity. I can't wait to till you guys get your Nobel Prize. Definitely. Okay. Oh, it went up, it went down, and then it went up again. Okay, cool.
Yeah, they took it off and redid it again. Yeah. I can't believe he asked to like.
How dare you? That's like I always get accused of clickbait. Oh, this is a clickbait video. It's like, yeah, it's almost like I want people to watch it or something. It's like, I never quite got that. Oh, that's clickbait. Oh, you mean I convinced you to watch the video? Wow, shame on me.
Any cool Aerosmith stories? I never get asked that, or I ignore them. But what about cool Aerosmith stories? Okay, so please like and share. Thank you, and thanks for disliking because we asked to like. That was very nice of you. That's pretty funny.
Thank you for not. You're gonna be. You're very spiteful, and you're gonna be a great wife one day.
Cool Aerosmith stories. Technical technical stories is. I'll always tell this. Thank you, everybody that's sending some great things. I will say, Joe Perry is one of the most inspiring people I work with. The reason why is that he never ever wanted the same guitar sound twice.
Oh, really?
Oh,
like even from song to song?
Oh, inside of the song.
Oh, wow.
We would and I tell this story all the time, but I like telling this story because it was, it's really important. So, his guitar tech had built this Strat for him. And what I mean by built is, he got like the best neck and put the best body and the best pickups and this and that, and it spec'd it out the way he wanted. So we got this guitar and we're all excited. It sounded great. We ran it through, it had a small live room to my right, and we put like a Deluxe 65 in there, a smaller amp, mic'd it up front and back actually with an open back, 57, got a sound up. And he's like, let's add something else. So we go out into the huge live room and put a Marshall stack up. Mm-hmm. Then mic the Marshall stack. And he's like, it's kind of cool. And then we mic the rooms. So now we have Marshall stack, small amp, rooms mic'd. And he's like, this is pretty good. All right. And then he's like, I really like the Jimmy Page straight into the console sound. So we get a fuzz pedal, an arbiter fuzz pedal, and we split off the signal. We go for the fuzz pedal straight into a Neve 1073. Then we overload the Neve.
Crank that, take the fader down. Yep, okay.
So here we are. We got small amp, front and back micing, Marshall, mic'd, close mic'd, ambient room mic in a huge room, arbiter fuzz pedal into, and we blend it all together. And we do the riff for Legendary Child.
Okay.
And we do it, and we're like, and it takes about half a day because we're experimenting and building on it. And we get this huge guitar sounds absolutely massive, and then we do the riff, and we put it in the song, and he's like, cool. Okay, now I want a different guitar sound for the solo. And we're like, what? So my favorite story with him is just like, there he is. This is what he does. He's a guitar player. I think that Jeff Beck and Joe Perry and Eddie Van Halen, they're very different people, but they have a very similar personality that they're always they're like big kids. They love cars. They you know what I mean? And when I say big kids, I mean in a good way, like like they're that teenage guy and they just want to keep doing guitar sounds. When I first met Joe, I didn't know him at all. Wasn't, and we were sitting down at the Boneyard like this, kind of hanging, and he's sitting next to me with his guitar and we're doing tones, and I'm sitting here, maybe editing something and then reaching over and pressing something, and I look over and there's a photograph of him as a kid, and I was like, oh cool, as I was at school, and he's like, oh yeah, and I was like, we started talking, and I was like, yeah, the first real guitar I built with my dad and Brian May, and then I said, but when I got some money, I bought a Guild Starfire 2, a 1962, and he was like, that was my first guitar. And I realized that's who he is. He's a freaking guitar player, and he wants to talk about guitars. He might be in his 60s, and he may have sold 100, 200 million albums. but he's still a guitar player. So my
awesome.
my story of Aerosmith is like, I love the fact that those kind of bands still exist. Nowadays, unfortunately, and it's not the kids' fault, but when you're talking to kids now, like I worked with this band recently, I won't say their name. All they did was sit on the couch here taking selfies and filming themselves and Snapchatting and trying to figure out how to talk to the girls. And it was an inconvenience for me to try and get guitar sounds out of them. And when I sent them the mix, all they did was make comments about tuning the vocals more and tightening this and tightening that. And they didn't like, and it was all, and they wanted like Bieber production, but they wanted it to be rock. It was just like, and I'm not trying to be mean, but it's just like...
Oh, I can be mean.
I know you can, but it was just like, it was a little disheartening. And don't get me wrong, not all bands are like that. In fact, most bands are not like that. Most bands still love it. But it's like that balance. It's just heartening when you meet artists that still love music, love guitars, love amps, care about what strings do you use. And I don't mean like a nerdy kind of way, like just like, oh yeah, these are a little brighter, I want to...
If I might make a suggestion.
Please. Yeah.
Next time you run into a situation like that where the band is too concerned with...
Call you up?
No. Just if they're too concerned with taking selfies instead of working on guitar tones, why not get yourself a little basket? Okay, guys, cell phones in here.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And then just block them in the bathroom or something like that. But no, we're making a record. We're not going to be on Snapchat.
It's an interesting one because I believe in social media.
Oh, I do too, obviously.
It's like, how do we balance it?
But if social media is happening at the detriment
Mark's
of the
saying, be me,
record,
no phones in the studio. Well, it was one of those things. This band was like yeah, they were definitely an interesting band to work with, and I have no, it is what it is. How about doing your vocal warm-ups instead? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff. It's making those suggestions, but I don't want to be mean about it in some ways because it is important to do that kind of stuff. Hey, and if you haven't already, please like and share.
What time are we going to anyway?
We should probably wrap up in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Have you tried SK Notes Distressor plugin emulation called Disto? Have you done that yet?
Tried whose?
SK Notes.
No,
Disto.
I've only tried the Slate one, and it's quite good.
Oh, it is? I haven't tried it yet.
Oh, it's very good. I just said that. Yes, it's called the FG Stress.
Nice.
And it's very, very, very good. I'm gonna do a direct shootout probably the next week or two because I know a lot of people are asking. They want to see basically if they can get a distressor for
right.
next to nothing. And so far so good. The FG Stress is extremely good.
Joe says the UAD distressor is great.
Okay, great, awesome.
Thanks everybody for liking this and sharing it.
Affordable
really
ribbon,
cool.
yes. The Rode NTR. You're talking about room mics. Actually, I've got a couple of NTRs up in my drum room mics, and I actually brought the faders up when I was just doing some clean guitar, and I just got this wonderful ambience in my small room. Yeah, the Rode NTRs are just killer.
Right. Bass players use their iPhone to tune their bass.
That's fine, as long as they figure out how to turn the iPhone on. I guess that's a plus.
Rod says you have a great dynamic together. Thank you, I appreciate it. This is fun. You're anything but 10-ply. Do I not know what that is?
I have no idea.
Okay. Alex says they don't make those ribbons anymore that you like.
What, the NTRs? Really? Wow, I'm glad because I'm glad I got a pair of them because they're just fucking amazing.
Cascades, fatheads. I use those.
I've got Art makes a version of those. Everybody's got a version of those fatheads. They're all at the same Chinese factory.
Is rock and roll dead? No, it's not at all. It's just a different world. Just because we don't hear rock and roll on mainstream pop radio does not mean it's dead. You know what I mean? The Letterkenny reference, I didn't see.
To be fair, yeah, you get it. Yeah, Rode NTR. Music Radar, $7.99 at Sweetwater. Yeah, you can still get them.
Must be, maybe he means a different mic. I'm talking about those room mics you like, says Alex. He says...
That's what I'm talking about, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, they're not budget, the $7.99 people are staying. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah,
they're not super cheap. But
they're not AEA prices is what he's saying.
Yeah.
I love AEAs, but yes, they're not cheap.
No.
Rock is not dead. It's not. He doesn't even have a. Yeah, I know. We always joke about rock is a new jazz. No, there's millions and millions, possibly billions of people loving rock. It's just not on mainstream pop radio.
Ugh, radio's terrible.
Top 40 radio is controlled by large corporations, and the money is in the Biebers and again, I don't want to be negative. It's in the Biebers and the Rihannas and the stuff, and that's fine. It's absolutely fine. You just have to clearly delineate it. It's just some of us are old enough to remember when we were blessed in the 70s, 80s, and 90s and 60s to have big rock bands on the radio. Just because it's not there anymore doesn't mean it's dead. It just means the top 40 is pop. That's all.
I threw my radio in the closet in 1995 and haven't missed it. You know what I found a great resource. It's not around anymore, but there's a website called GarageBand.com in the late '90s, and it's not because Apple owns GarageBand now, but it was a site where bands could put up music, and you would get to sit there and review other bands, and they'd review your stuff. And I found some really killer stuff on there. A lot of terrible recordings. But there was some really great stuff.
That's a really good idea.
A lot of shit, too.
Andrew Young said, did you get your Lewitts in the States? Because there doesn't seem to be any places around Ontario.
Yes, they did send them to me from the States. You can get Lewitts through Musician's Friend and Sweetwater, I do believe, and they will deliver to Canada. B&H Photo is a great place to get Lewitt mics as well, and B&H does free shipping to Canada, and will cover your taxes as well. You can pay that up front.
That is a big one for Canadians, yeah.
Yes, so anything over $100, B&H will ship to Canada for free. So yeah, go that route. It's awesome.
Mark says, what do you think of the new Judas Priest album?
I've only heard a little bit about it. I haven't really had time to check it out. From what I've heard, though, it's really good. Really good. And it's about time they got their due. They got the #1 record in Sweden right now. It's #5 in the States. Like,
nice.
They're killing it. And I mean, they had the production dream team. They had Tom Allen came out of retirement and was producer, and Andy Sneap engineered.
I've got to talk to Eventide. They have an Omnipressor now. That's one of the best plugins ever made, and but best hardware ever made. They have a plugin version of that. The Omnipressor will change your life. It's amazing.
Okay.
You'll find new uses for it and tell me how to use it. UBK's Pusher. People are talking about Decapitate. That's a wonderful plugin. All right, well, we should probably wrap up. Please like it, share it, let people know that you enjoyed it.
Hit that like button, please.
Thank you ever so much. If you're part of my audience and you don't know Glenn, go and check it out. There is actually a link that I believe Matt put there.
Yeah, thanks very much. Yeah, check out my compressor explanation. It works. I get to the point pretty quick and kind of lay it out in terms that I make it very easy to understand.
And
for everybody but the bass players.
Look at this. Mr. Matty D is really on his schnizzle. Yeah. If you look under the video, it says, sign up here for a discount off Glenn's upcoming course, Producing Prog Metal with Glenn Fricker.
Yeah, that's it's a couple hours, 2-3 hours of video. I kind of, break down my whole, how I make the drums, how I mix them. I take you through an entire drum edit. That's like an hour long. Hopefully you guys can stay awake for it. I'm sure it's, absolutely thrilling, but, I explain every move I make on a drum edit and then go through the entire mix, where I use outboard, where I'm using in the box, go through a lot of my techniques, that kind of thing. And it's extremely detailed, and it's a killer track. So
fantastic.
It's done by my friends Good Evening Gentlemen, and it's 2 of the guys are like regulars on my show. Actually, 3 of the guys are all regulars on my show, and they did this cool little piece, and we broke in the new Rev 100P with it.
Nice.
And yeah, it was killer.
Fantastic. So there's a link to that underneath, and there's also a discount code that Matt's just put up.
Yep.
So thank you, Matty D.
Because you guys are super cool, you get a discount.
There you go. Gonna subscribe today, says Ron. Thank you, Ron.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alex. Oh, there's so many people I know here. This is amazing. Is TJ with you?
Oh, TJ? No, he's back in Canada right now.
Also, Matty D says, check out the 1173 here. Circle 8, our live broadcasts usually start at 11 a.m. on Thursdays, and occasionally I do them on Tuesdays. Titus says, just subscribe to you now.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
If you're Glenn fans, please subscribe to me. And
yes, please subscribe to Warren. He's got a fantastic show here.
You all absolutely rock. Thank you, Thomas. And no, it's 11 PST. Because I film my Feedback Friday on Thursday mornings. Tessa's subscribing to your channel now.
Thank you so much.
Stu Crichton. Oh, hey, Stu. Been talking to Steve. Perfect. As soon as I can afford it, I'll buy a pair of 1173s. Can't wait. Thank you.
Yeah.
Save that link. Save the link. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks, everybody. Now, you're awesome, Jonathan. I really appreciate everybody on here. Have a marvelous time recording and mixing. Please like, please share. Please just do all the really good. Thank you. You subscribe to both. Thank you.
Take care, everybody. Thanks so much for watching.
I'm coming to England next week. I have some really important family stuff to take care of, but I won't be doing any socializing. But thank you, everybody. Thanks for subscribing. I appreciate it. Bye. Have a marvelous time.